Hi, my name is Keith, and I'm known as the Florida Stone Man, and today I'm going to be talking to you about starving an ancient enemy and how to overcome and starve fear. So, this is among a little series I'm doing. I'm not sure how far I'll go on the series. I might have to, depending on how much you guys like this, I'll continue it, but there's a few feelings and emotions that these beings will inspire, and beings being, I call them the W words or watchers. So, something you guys have to know is past February, these things are taking prey upon people who are on their relationship with God or are getting closer to God, and their relationship can be challenged. So, for certain people, these beings won't really get to as much because they've done mastering of shadows, they've gotten a hold of their emotions, etc. But for a certain set of people who are more sensitive, spiritually, emotionally, etc., empaths, they're going to be taking advantage of that. And today I'm going to be talking to you about the emotion of fear. So I'm going to say off the bat, when you trust in the Most High God, you don't fear. I understand that, but there are some things where people, and there's no exception to that. You give your fear to God because He takes care of it, but some people lose sight and forget of that completely. So I fully understand that, but that's a reminder that number one, God comes first, and faith and fear don't fit in the same space. I'm thinking of several different scenarios right now. The most important thing ever is that you flat out understand that fear is sent by the enemy. Fear is not, it doesn't go to heaven. It's not in heaven. The only thing is the fear of God because you love God, because you move yourself closer to God, because God is good, and to be a God-fearing man or woman makes you that much more powerful because your connection is strong. You have a very powerful connection. Now, when it comes to fear, and you're feeling constant fear, or you're living in fear, you have to ask yourself a certain set of questions. Now, go down the list. Where did this fear come from? Am I choosing this fear? Is this fear being planted in me? Is there someone around me making me fearful? Am I watching something that's making me fearful? Is there some kind of imbalance within the chakra system that makes you fearful? Is there a trauma that makes you fearful? And just go down the list. There could be 100 different things that make you fearful, but you have to confront it. Did a past experience from a trauma, or just a past experience in general, make you fearful? Did someone violate your trust? Did this happen, and did something happen in a past life? Maybe. That could be why you're fearful. You don't know until you really investigate and find out. This is extremely important. So in investigating why you feel fearful, you really have to knock this feeling at the park, because when you're someone who moves closer to God, these beings will elaborate on fear. So if your fear level is at here, they'll pump them up to here. And it's easier said than done. This is way easier said than done. Because I can tell you, because when this emotion's always in us. Fear keeps us safe sometimes, but the thing is, too much fear is not good. So this emotion can keep us safe. So, okay, you can say I have a little bit of, and I don't even think it's not the sense of fear. So it's a little bit of fear, but that will help you have an intuition. So if you have no fear at all, if you get on the road and you think you're invincible, then that's not helping you. So this much fear does help you. But that's the fear of God, the fear of knowing that things are out there, the fear that we're in the world, but that's how it should stay. Fear comes from the root chakra. It's fight or flight. So if you have fear saved from a past life in your root chakra, which is at the base of the spine, then you're gonna flat out feel fearful if it's planted there. So you have to disperse. So that's why you work with a crystal such as obsidian. That's one of the best crystals ever. It's coming out of my mouth before I say it. I'm like, obsidian! But obsidian amplifies and releases fears. So if it's hiding in there, it'll release it. So let's look at your phobias, for example. And we're not talking about phobias in the sense of fears, but just understand that there's power to your fears. If you're scared of spiders, for example, then there's an aspect of patience within you that has some form of lacking. So spiders sit in a web and they're very patient. They can pop up on people by surprise, but the thing is, it's because they're so patient. They're also hidden, It has to deal with the subconscious and not knowing what's there, etc. Lack of trust, etc. So if you're a spider, there could be a list of reasons why. So the fear could be that you're not, the shadow, the stem of the fear could be because you're not a patient person, that you've had some kind of trauma with someone doing you wrong in the past. Now let's look at horses, because some people, and I make the face because some people do have fears of horses, so I understand. So if someone has gotten kicked by a horse before, I understand. So if you're afraid of horses, okay, let's look at the shadow aspect of a horse. Horses represent endurance, power, stability, etc. So look at where you're lacking in these, and this is where the shadow lies. This is really interesting. So if it's fear from a phobia, then it's where the shadow lies. But the fear also lies within the root chakra as well to who you are as a being. So what happens when you have feelings of fear and dread and being scared? Because sometimes, if you're just chilling at home, the enemy and the entity that this kind of being is, because there's 200 of this being, and I will teach about them a little more. Once you're so protected past this being, because I've actually found a way to really seal yourself off from them completely, but they'll still affect people around you. So black tourmaline is king. Most importantly, God is king. This gemstone is a king gemstone among gemstones. God made the gemstones, he allows us to use it. When I say a gemstone is king, I always acknowledge God as the most high. The thing is, he made this gemstone, and it topples other gemstones when it comes to protection. That's why when people say, oh yes, yeah, king, go. And I'm like, oh no, God is king. So that word is like, good. So, but that gemstone is a giant leader among other gemstones, because it's just, I actually found out it causes the Watcher's pain when you put it around your yard. It causes the Watcher's pain when you wear it. It's piezoelectric, so it sends them fire. It really actually hurts them when they try to monitor you or watch you while you wear it. It's super interesting. So I will have a how to protect your house from the Watchers coming up very soon, because they literally just astral travel from their chains in the ground. And once after a certain set of protections, they're kind of like just limp, and they'll just go around everyone else but you. So they'll go to your family who are not protected, which you should definitely protect your family. If you don't have black tourmaline, get black tourmaline from floridastoneman.com. But they'll just flat out go around you. They'll just flat out just go all the way around you. But if you think and this is the biggest thing in the spiritual community, if you think you're under spiritual attack, then you will always be under spiritual attack. You'll be spiritually attacking yourself. How does that work? It's because when you're constantly thinking someone's hexing you, cursing you, etc., which you don't even have to worry about with black tourmaline. Flat out, that just goes away. How to protect, I'm going to make a video about how to protect your yard from the Watchers. If you don't have a yard, then you don't have to worry, because they astral travel. So if you're in a building, then they can't really get to you. They can come outside the door, but if you have something outside the door, they can't really do that. So I have a little roadmap plan video coming up. But the thing is, they're going to elaborate on that fear. They're going to pump the fear up. So, for example, I've known people, I've had to get myself away from people in life, unfortunately, who just filled me with just feelings I didn't have to have. So I remember a guy way back then, he's like, oh, you see the news? Oh, look what's going on, look what's going on, look what's going on, look what's going on. Oh, this is going to be it. And I'm just like, my heart starts pumping. I'm like, my heart wasn't pumping before you came up to me. So it's an actual feeling that it goes in your heart chakra, your solar plexus chakra, so your heart will start pumping. It'll go into the pink side of your heart chakra. It'll attack the receptive side. And then you'll project upon others your fears. So you'll be, well, you can't do this, you can't go outside, blah, blah, blah. The Florida Stoneman face. It's that face is like that. I mean, the action just says it. So the thing is, when someone's putting off that much fear, you have to make distance from them, or they're gonna by default fill you with fear, even though you're the most brave, courageous person ever. You also have to make sure that if you're feeling fearful constantly, it could be some kind of imbalance. So that's physical, that's not spiritual. I don't cover that. I'm teaching spiritual. So if you know your fear is not from anything hormonal or any kind of imbalance within the body, this is a spiritual video. But if you're feeling fearful all the time, you do have to do shadow work and confront that, and you do have to starve the fear. So if you're constantly asking questions, if you're constantly like just living in fear, then you're not fully trusting God. Because we have the free will to be able to give him the fear. And it's just, when you walk through the night, anything can happen anywhere. We're on Earth. You can't never can you 100% ever be safe because we're still on Earth. The thing is, we have to trust in God so much to the point where he covers us. And one thing guys should know, there's 200 Watchers, a whole bunch of other entities. Other entities will take advantage of your fear as well. Sometimes they'll try to have you manifesting stuff from nightmares. So, in your nightmares, they will have you having nightmares of a trauma, of something that's not even going to happen. And they'll have you having thoughts around it to the point where you're actually manifesting something in the future. So you had a nightmare, you put thought into it every single day for a week, and now it's actually becoming a part of your day-to-day life, and you're actually seeing it. Let's just say A is in a relationship with B. A has a nightmare about B breaking up. B isn't breaking up, but so that nightmare was just flat out insecurity in the person's subconscious mind. The W word took that fear, pumped it up. The fear is big. Guess what? Now the person's thinking about it. They're talking about it. They're acting on it. They're writing it down. They're sharing it with people. They're talking about it. They're giving it life. That's where you're feeding the fear. Don't feed the fear. Do not feed the fear. I'll make more of topics on fear alone, but when you're feeling constantly fearful, you have to acknowledge that your angels that God sends, as many demons there are there angels. As many angels there are demons. As above, so below. But when you fully and 100% trust in God, you don't worry. If you're wearing black tourmaline, if you're doing everything you can, then take the worry and confront it. Starve it. Don't give it light. Don't give it attention. And check to see where the fear is coming from. Track the fear. So understand that everything's okay. And the one thing I'm going to tell you guys to do is, because a lot of you guys are doing affirmations, you're doing anti-affirmations. There's not one person who I see in this world who is not doing affirmations that's just going against them. People are like, well, affirmations are things you say out loud. They're actually things you're saying right now. They're things you're thinking. Because when you think something, that's an affirmation, but it has 1 point. When you say it, it has 10 points. So if you're going through your day-to-day life, and if someone asks you, how are you? And you say, oh, I'm terrible. But you did your affirmations. I'm doing amazing. I'm doing awesome. Versus you just countered all your affirmations, but just by saying that one anti-affirmation. That's not helping you. There's no... and trying to have people feel bad for you is not good either. I mean, some people are just like that. They'll try to have you feeling bad for them all the time. That doesn't do anything but sucks energy. But when it comes to the energy of fear, you have the choice to trust in God or to not trust in God. You give it to him, because you have to understand, as many of these Watchers are buried in the ground by God, and they'll be sent to a very specific place by God. But they're here for now to remind us that God is God. He is the Most High. He died on the cross for us. He died for our sins. He died for all of us. Now, you give it to him. But after that, if you choose to constantly worry, and you have to ask yourself, what am I speaking? What am I thinking? If you have had a nightmare, if you're having bad stuff happen, then there's certain things you can do to combat nightmares, like slip the words, the blood of Jesus, into your pillow. You can put rosemary in your pillow. You can put amethyst in your pillow. You can put black tourmaline in your pillow. A whole bunch of things to counter that, but you have to understand that Sometimes some things are just there to scare you. That's it. Even you can do a transmutation of any kind of nightmare. If you have a nightmare, because they start with nightmares. These beings start with nightmares. So you'll be feeling fine, you had a crazy nightmare. And I'll tell you guys right now, I'm going to give you guys an example, because a long time ago I had a nightmare about flies and maggots. And I'm like, oh. I'm like, well, flies, and online, you're looking at information online, and it's like, flies, that means death and destruction. I said to myself, this represents rebirth and resilience and stability, and I came up with something that's supposed to be a full-fledged nightmare. I'm like, okay, this basically means good news for me. It means the complete opposite, and also, this is something you guys should know. So from some of my family in Brazil, whenever they have a really bad nightmare, like when they're seeing dead people and stuff like that, they're like, oh, or they see people dying in dreams, like, oh, that means money's coming. And guess what? A giant check comes. I did the same thing, and the exact same thing came. So that's something you can do. Transmute your nightmares. Be like, okay, this really bad nightmare, if you had your trauma pop up, just be like, okay, it might be hard, but you'll get into a habit, and it will actually become that case. Anytime you see a trauma pop up in your dream, like a really bad nightmare, it means they're showing you this because this is what's in the past. They're showing you this because the exact opposite is happening, which is really interesting because in Brazil, like some of the most backwards dream interpretations actually do come true. Like, oh, you're seeing dead people. Oh, you're seeing family members in the dream. It's not actually how it is in real life. It's the complete opposite. And then they actually manifest prosperity and wealth and abundance, and they actually do really well because they transmute their dreams. They don't believe in anything as such as a bad dream. How cool is that? So you do have control of your emotions. Take control of your emotions. Take charge of your emotions. Give it to God. You have more power than you think. So when you have the option of being fearful, of the option of being, because you don't have to be stuck in fear. Fight. We have the free will to fight. It's easier to stay in fear and be like, okay, versus, okay, I'm not tolerating this anymore. Do your affirmations for anti-fear. And do it all day if you have to. So basically, I am courageous, I am brave, I am feeling safe, I am feeling wonderful, I'm feeling happy, awesome, amazing. Go down all these emotions that are the exact opposite of fear and do it 5 times a day. Write it on your wall. You can take a cup of water and write safety, grounding, secure, and drink the water. Use crystals such as black tourmaline, smoky quartz, tiger eye, amethyst, and you'll feel a lot more calm. You won't be feeling that fear. You'll be feeling a lot better. So this is how you combat the fear, is by fighting. It might take a second for you to not be fearful, but it's a habit. It's something you'll be living. It might take a week, a month. It might take 2 months, but 3 months, etc. It doesn't matter, but fight the fear. Starve the fear by fighting the fear and not feeding the fear. Your fear, give it straight to God because He's taking care of you. God takes care of His people. I remember... Okay, this is a really interesting story, because way back then, when I was in college, I was like, look at these, because in college they just stick random neighbors into random dorms, etc. And I said to one of my angels, I'm like, well, I'm kind of afraid that this might be a bad neighbor or whatever, because they brought this into the house, and I'm kind of afraid. And my angel said to me, I'm not going to say which angel, he said, do you believe in God? Do you believe in the Most High? Do you not trust that He would not back you and put who's supposed to be there in the house next to you, or in the apartment next to you? And I'm like, yes. And my angel said, if you fear, you're not trusting in God, you're trusting in your fear. But if you trust in God, that fear is being taken care of, and everything's going to work out fine. If you trust in God, then it's going to work out. If you trust in fear, your fear will envelop and it will develop. So I just completely just took my feeling of fear and I threw it out. That was one of the nicest neighbors I've ever met in my entire life. I've misjudged. But that always stuck with me. When that angel in particular, if you guys can guess which angel that is, it's one of the 7 archangels. When he said that, it made me really just change the way I look at everything. So, anytime I question something, I'm like, I'll ask myself the question, well, do I trust in God? Of course I do. Am I going to fear? Not if I trust in God. If you have any questions, ask them in the comment section. If you like blessed gemstones to help you beat the enemy and put the enemy where they belong, you may get them from floridastoneman.com. Move yourself closer to God, trust in God, and God has your back. Because we can't see everything and we cannot lean into our own understanding. Lean into His understanding. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.